There are those who believe that symbols have a profound effect on what it is to be human, that symbols go back to the very birth of our species. I tend to agree. I think that it's one of the reasons that so many religions have stayed with us for thousands of years, that these ideas are contagious. And there are some great symbols within the traditional martial arts that I'd like to share. Now, American culture has what could be a pro and a con. It's very pragmatic in its way of thinking. So Americans tend to view martial arts as a means to develop one's fighting skills. And traditional martial arts, that is not their primary function. The primary function of a traditional martial art is to develop the person, the entire person. So there's a little bit of a difference there. And I think sometimes these symbols are confusing to the American mindset that's focused almost predominantly on pragmatism rather than, in this case, the philosophical side of studying martial art. I'll go through some of those with you. So the first one is the uniform, which traditionally is white, like this shirt I'm wearing here. And the white uniform is meant to symbolize a sort of purity of thinking, a cleanliness, sort of a blank slate type of a mindset, where the student can come in and have that purity of mind and body and spirit in order to then be able to comprehend the deeper meanings of the art. Just like Bruce Lee talked about, you have to come into something with an empty cup. You have to have the right mindset to be able to embrace and understand new information. So that is symbolized with the uniform. Of course, uniforms themselves are symbolic in that they distinguish your activity while you're wearing the uniform from your everyday activities and help you have a sense of being part of a group. That's something you see in other things as well. So there's the uniforms. Then there's the belt system we have. And the belt system follows some of the Taoist beliefs, which would say that the universe is cyclical. So it would look at like the life of a plant as a cycle, where it starts as a seed, grows and dies, and then goes back into the soil, becomes the seed again, or animal life, right? So Taoists view things in that sort of cyclical nature, and you see it within the belt system. So I'll highlight a few of the key colors that represent that. So you'd start with a white belt, which is not on our wall here, but you start with a white belt, and just like the uniform, that represents a freshness, like a new layer of snow in the winter. And this is also the place where you get a new seed, basically. And that seed has potential for growth. Yellow represents the sun. So the sun can come in, it melts the snow, and it adds energy to the seed and allows the seed to begin to germinate. Then you have green, which is the springtime. That's when everything begins to blossom. And the fall, when everything's reached its mature state. Then there's the black belt, and the black belt is the color of respect, because you can't add any of those other colors to it. It's still the black belt. You can't add anything to it to improve upon it. Now, the interesting thing is the colored belts are what's called a Gup Rank, and you start as a 10th Gup. So if you're a white belt, you're a 10th Gup, and you'd work your way up to the 1st Gup. And then the black belt starts in the new cycle, which is the Dan ranks. So you start not as a 10th Dan, but as a 1st Dan, and then your journey is about moving closer to the 10th Dan. So it's the opposite of the colored belts. Now in Taekwondo, one of the systems we study, you won't find any 10th Dans, because it's only awarded to those who have passed away and done things that are seen as valuable for the system. So 9th is the highest you see, in 10th Dan that's living at least. But that's an interesting thing, that you see the cycle, the Taoist cycle, within the belt system. So it's meant to represent life itself. Then you have the dojang, or dojo in Japanese. And it's a special building, right? It's not just like a normal gym. Gym, of course, you come in and you work on improving yourself, but it doesn't have that symbolic component. So when you come into a dojang, you bow. When you step on and off the training floor, a lot of dojos or dojang, when you come into the building itself, you would bow at the door. Depends on the culture of the school. But there's always a bow before getting on the floor of some sort. So that is symbolic, it's showing that there's a respect for this place, that it's a place where you are working on improving yourself. And of course, there's a whole list of rules that students follow to keep the dojang a special place rather than just another room that you go to. So those are some of the symbols that you see in martial arts, traditional martial arts, and I think they have a profound impact on how students process all of the information that comes their way in a positive way, because again, the goal of the traditional martial art is to better the self. That's the primary objective, and I think the symbols really add to that objective.